Welcome back to the program now for a check on the media sector's performance on the share market this week. We're joined by Evan Lucas over at IG. Evan, thanks so much. Let's start with 10 because it's managing to attract some investors.
Yeah, it certainly is. New Caledonian Investment Group, which is a fairly large Sydney-based group, has been quietly and very surely, probably over the last month and a half, really picking up its sort of share in 10. You can see on the moving averages in terms of volume, they're well and truly above their daily average, and that suggests that New Caledonian Group is really sort of hoping itself up. It's done very well for the share price. There was a really big block trade yesterday, and they're buying into the idea that they are seeing a turnaround story. They're certainly listening to what Hamish McLennan's got to say. So that's what we're seeing on the 10 share price. It has been an interesting move. They are sort of still waiting to see sort of the viewer numbers picking up with that strategy, but they certainly believe on a medium to longer term view that 10 may have finally sort of turned a corner after a fairly rocky road for the last 2.5 years.
Wonderful, Evan. Let's talk 9 because brokers have had a few nice things to say about this one ahead of its first half results.
Yeah, they certainly have, and I think it also gets back to what's happening with 9 at the moment. 9 in December particularly had their best month basically on record. 41.9% was the average viewership, so they took and absolutely outstripped 7. Comes down to the cricket. They also saw their advertisement dollars over that month being well and truly ahead of expectations. So you're seeing the likes of UBS, you're also seeing CS both coming out and saying that they expect that they may actually beat the prospective numbers, and that saw 9 this week actually hitting a record high, $2.18. It slid back a little bit today because of market conditions, but it certainly looks like after what was a very sulky start on their IPO on the 6th of December, 9 has really hit their straps, and if they do indeed extract that kind of numbers, you will probably see them outperforming their major peers in 7 and 10.
Fantastic. Evan Lucas, IG, thanks as always.
Thanks, Kate.
All right, well, Free TV Australia has released ad revenue numbers this week for the second half of 2013, and that showed that 7's shares slipped below the 40% mark. 9's shares reached 38.7%. That's its best result since 2004. For more, let's return to Mediaweek's James Manning. And what to make of this one, James? 7 slipping behind a little.
Yeah, look, it's not a big move. They've just been hovering above 40% now. They're just under it by a titch. 9's been doing well, creeping back up from the lower down into the 30s. They've had 2 Ashes series been selling, so they've had some really good sales there. It'll be interesting to see what happens this year. But the big news is, of course, look, Free TV revenues are continuing to grow. You know, they broke $2 billion for the first time in the second half of the year there for a while. So that was great news. And it's still a 2-horse race, you know, 7 and 9 still controlling 80% of the market. 10 really trying to get back in there. You know, they're buying a lot of rights. They're really wanting to get back on the radar, and we should see them eat away and creep back up towards 25% perhaps this year.
Let's talk about Twitter and television, because Twitter's out there at the moment talking about the impact of TV tweets on the price of television advertising.
I don't quite get this one. I've always been a little bit cynical about the power of tweeting about TV, but I think their argument is that people that tweet about TV shows are more engaged, for starters, and they're also spending more time in front of the TV set. Like in ad breaks, they don't run out, make a cup of tea, bathroom breaks, stuff like that. They're there. Their ads have more impact perhaps on that audience. So it'll be interesting to see, but I don't think it's going to have anything short term. But Nielsen are now measuring, you know, tweets about TV in the States, so it is becoming more important.
And if you've watched any sport on 10 over the past couple of months, you would know that that is where the Winter Games are going to be shown because they bring it up in their coverage over and over again. But they've got some big sponsors on board now.
Yeah, and actually it gets underway next week, so you won't have to sit through any more of those promos. Look, Samsung's, I think, the principal sponsor.
Yes.
They'll be in there. Jeep's another one. McDonald's, no surprise there. They get involved with any big sport. Optus is also going to be along there. So, yeah, it's about, what, 18, 19 days from the end of next week, and it should do something for their revenues and help promote some of the shows that come back on air after the Winter Games.
OK, and let's also talk about 9, because it could be moving out of Willoughby, where it's been for an awfully long time.
Yeah, look, they've been for a long time. They've been trying to get through a development application to turn the site into apartments. A lot of local opposition against that. If you drive around the back streets of Willoughby, you'll see locals with signs up in their yards sort of saying, you know, no development, we're anti this 9 development. But it looks like it might be finally getting past council. I think 9 was thinking about staying there. Now they're looking like moving out. They did have plans to go to Fox Studios, was once sort of on the drawing boards. Now there's talk they might go to Piermont to be close to where the other sort of big media companies are.
Okay, interesting, James. Let's take a look at another story doing the rounds in the media pages this week, because Fairfax is going to hand over $95,000 plus legal costs to former News Corp Australia Chief Executive Kim Williams. It seems the former News Chief did not storm out of a meeting with Opera House trustees, as reported by a gossip columnist. James, was this more or less than we thought he'd settle for, 95 grand?
Maybe he let them off a little bit lightly,
Yeah.
95 grand. I think the legal costs will be fairly hefty, so they'll be considerably more than 90.
Because it's plus legal costs.
Yeah, 95, I think. Kim Williams said, look, he didn't want to he just wanted to make the point, look, this didn't happen. He's done that. He's got some recompense. He's covered his costs. He said he didn't want to get involved in a long legal battle. The interesting side story to this is that this story was part of a sort of combined sharing of business news arrangement, which was going to be in the AFR, the Age and the Herald. And so this story ran in the AFR and the Sydney Morning Herald, but there wasn't a good story to start that sharing arrangement. We're going to see more of that, though, in the future.
Okay, interesting. Let's take a look at the magazine space now, because Bauer Media has confirmed the launch date for its new women's title, Yours. And James, what are the details of this one? What will the magazine be like?
Yeah, February 6th. Looks coming out of the same stable as Women's Day, so it's part of what they're doing at Bauer now. I don't think there's going to be too many dedicated staff on this other title. It'll be sort of people at Women's Day will be doubling up a little bit, if you like. But that's what Bauer's got to do to sort of make their business model work now. It's a UK magazine, Yours, so they'll be probably sharing copy with the UK edition, putting in some local content, sort of tweaking it where need be. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I think at $3.95, I think it's the launch price. Might be a little on the low side to help it build a bit of an audience before they might sort of slip it up a bit. But look, it's a hard year to be launching magazines. I talked recently on the show about the trouble they had with Elle last year, trying to get a big audience for that. They're still sort of working that hard, trying to sort of...
They've cut a couple of titles as well, actually.
Yeah, they did, yeah. They, when they Bauer bought the company, a few magazines have gone. A couple of launches, but interesting to see. We'll follow this one during the year and maybe get somebody in to talk about what they're up to.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, James. James will be back after this break, and we're going to talk pay TV. Foxtel ordering a third season of Wentworth from Fremantle, Australia.